This is the Crinear Daybreak, the second IEM in the Crinear lineup. And unlike the first one, the Meta, this one is not a limited production run. This one is just production run, which is great because now you don't have to go scrambling for something that you may or may not like. Now you can take your time, watch multiple reviews, see if you actually like this. And because I'm sponsored by I, Me, and Myself, I can tell you unequivocally and without fear that this is not going to be for everyone. Well, it's going to be for someone, just definitely not for everyone because this is a very flavored approach to sound, and we'll talk about it in a second. Now, in the box, you get the IEMs themselves, you get the cable, and the cable has a right angle termination, 3.5 mm or 4.4 mm, which it's got this little sleeve here. You can just unfold that and you can disconnect it and you can change it out. I love this trend in IEMs. I love that you can change it. It's fantastic. Every IEM should come with this, and a lot of IEMs do these days. It's a good thing that's happening in the industry. Now, I will say that this is a $170 IEM, and for that IEM, the cable seems a little cheaper feeling. Not that it makes a damn difference, but I just thought I'd mention it. I've seen better cables at cheaper price points, but that's neither here nor there. The IEM itself is a quasi custom IEM shape, and it's a comfortable shape, but it is a large IEM and it won't fit smaller ears that easily, more so because the nozzle diameter is a whopping 6 millimeters, which in Crinicle's world is an improvement, but in general human ergonomics is still not what I would call fantastic. Shout out to Crinear themselves because they put this information up on their website for any new buyer to see, so you can make that decision before you pull the trigger. $170, quite a bit of money. It's a good idea to see if it actually fits you. Now, speaking of first time buyers, one problem I had is that while the cable termination itself has right and left written on them, so you know which one goes where, the IEM doesn't seem to. Now, I don't know if I've missed something, but for the life of me, I can't find any indication, color, or just letter that says that this is the left IEM and this is the right IEM. So if you are new to the world of IEMs and you're putting it together, a little bit of trial and error shall ensue. That's definitely a quality of life thing that they could have done. And it is worth mentioning that this is fairly easy to run. I ran this off my Apple dongle, Samsung DAC dongle. Doesn't matter. It'll run on anything. It's not hard to run per se. It's got a whole bunch of drivers though. You've got the dynamic drivers doing bass duty. You've got balance armatures for the mids, and for the highs, although I don't know where exactly in the highs that starts, you've got your planar magnetic drivers, which is fine and all. Driver count and driver type doesn't matter as long as they're implemented well. So let's talk about the sound. Fundamentally, the first thing that hits you when you put these on is that it is a warm, bassy sound. And I'm going to put up a frequency response here. If you are not used to reading frequency responses, I'll run you through some of the basics. It's basically to the left of your screen is bass, the middle is the mids, usually from 3, 4, 500 hertz on to about 2, 3, 4 kilohertz is generally considered mids, although 3, 4 kilohertz onwards to the right of your screen will be considered the highs or the treble. And there's a little bit of intermix between them. It's not properly defined as such. But generally speaking, what you want is a little bit of a bass rise, not because you want more bass, but because when you are listening to IEMs and you're comparing them with listening to nice speakers, your body actually, when bass hits your body, it gets a little amplified by your torso, your head, everything. But if you have bass piping into just your ears like that, that doesn't happen. So generally speaking, IEMs need to boost their bass. So to the left of your screen, you should see a little bit of a boost. This one is not a little bit of a boost. It's a lot of boost. I don't know what that was. It's a lot of boost. 10, maybe 11 decibels at the highest point in the sub bass, which is, that's a lot of bass. And the thing that, if you know how to read frequency responses, you've got this already, but I'll point it out. That bass rise extends all the way up to something like 600, 700 hertz, which is just a big no-no in terms of making the mids muddy. This is the sort of bass rise that bleeds into the mids. This is what they say when they say the mids are muddy. This is exactly what they mean. Now, to counter this, there's a peak you see at 3 kilohertz. This is also very normal. You should have that. The reason that's there in most IEMs, it should be there, but not all IEMs have it. But the reason that's there is because this part of your ear, along with your head, along with your ear canal, a whole bunch of things come together and form a natural peak there. So if you're just listening to a sound from the outside environment, to you, it sounds normal, but actually you're listening to like 2, 3, 4 kilohertz higher than a lot of other frequencies. It's just that that's the way we've evolved and that's the way we've gotten used to it, so we don't realize it. But if you're putting something inside your eardrum, you're bypassing your pinna, you're bypassing the effect of your head, everything, then that effect gets diminished and you compensate by tuning that little peak into the device. Headphones, IEMs, they all have it and they should have it. This one has quite a bit of a peak. It's got, I think about 12 decibels at 3 kilohertz, which is quite a lot and is generally in keeping with principles, but that is probably done to compensate for the bass rise to some degree, and to some degree it does. But when you listen to certain tracks like rock or heavy metal, anything that has a lot going on down low, so deeper vocals along with grungy guitars, that sort of thing, or even an orchestra with a lot of bass, like a lot happening across the frequency spectrum, then it is very obvious that the mids are recessed. It feels recessed. They're not actually recessed, but because of that rise in bass and because of that muddiness that is brought on by that way the bass is risen in the tuning, it's a little bit unclear. The resolution is still there. This is a very good IEM in terms of overall resolution. All the detail is there. It is tuned well, but it's tuned very specifically for a certain sound, and that sound is warm, bassy with slightly muddier, warmer mids. Depending on your preference, you'll either say it's muddy or you'll say it's just warm. That's up to you. But it's undeniable that certain tracks and many tracks, the vocals seem a little recessed compared to where they would normally be on IEMs that are tuned a little bit more differently. On most of the IEMs that Crinear himself has tuned, it will not sound like this. So this is a bit of a departure, quite a bit of a departure from his normal tuning. Now, in terms of the highs, on my rig, you'll see a lot of irregularities. I wouldn't read too much into that. It takes a little bit of practice reading into that, and my rig is a little bit inaccurate overall when it comes to the highs. But generally, I can tell you in the ear, it sounds reasonably even, and nothing jumps out at me as painful. Like there's no sudden spike in some frequency that is unnatural and makes it sound uneven. That doesn't happen. So it is pretty well tuned, and the frequency response is pretty smooth for the most part, except for that little bump there around sort of 100 hertz. I don't know what that is. That keeps showing up in all my readings. I don't know. Overall though, it is, or maybe that's the crossover. Just popped into my head right now. Overall though, it is well tuned, but it is definitely tuned with a flavor in mind, and is definitely not tuned the way Crinear would usually tune his IEMs, most of his IEMs. So yeah, it's a little bit of an interesting decision, and I think this is to serve in diversification. This is basically to make sure that the Crinear brand is catering to people of different tastes. And I think from a business point of view, it might be a smart move. But I think for a lot of people, the level of increase in bass and mids, it's just, you will notice that this is a more muddy sounding IEM. Even though the resolution is there, even though the clarity is mostly there, it just sounds muddy. And I'm not here to apologize for his tuning decisions. I can tell you unequivocally that if I were to reach for an IEM, it probably won't be this one for my preferences. I like a little bit of warm and bassy. I like a warmth. I don't like the Harman anemic mid bass sort of tuning. But this is a bit much for me. Question is it a bit much for you? I don't know. A lot of people do like this sort of thing. This is more V-shaped, if you want to call it that, without being ridiculously V-shaped. It's an interesting choice. Tell me if you like it or not, but this is the Crinear Daybreak, $169. There are a lot of options in the market at that price, so competition is fierce. So it'll be interesting to see how this one does in the long run. In the short run, of course, Crinear has a lot of fans and a lot of people will buy it. But in the long run, I'd be interested to see how this one holds up. Subscribe if you want to see how this one holds up, and I will cover more things. In fact, I think maybe I should cover the Truthier Pure, a bit of a contentious IEM itself. Also quite good, but there's things to talk about here. Subscribe, and I have giveaways for my members. If you're a paying member, it's only $1 a month or $3 a month if you want to support me more, and you get giveaways. I have the Moondrop Space Travel 2 as well. I might give that away, or I might give something more expensive away. We'll see. I'll see you in the next one. Stay happy, stay peaceful, stay colorful. Namaste.